Hello and welcome to Point Counterpoint. The opinions expressed by the show's host will many times conflict, thus the title Point Counterpoint, the 46360 show. Point Counterpoint is a weekly issue show for our area. Point Counterpoint always lets you judge for yourself. We live in an information free-for-all. It's hard to see through the misinformation and get to the accurate facts. What is right and best for our community. We will not libel, discriminate, or disrespect anyone or their views. We believe in the constitutional First Amendment, right of free speech. We support everyone who voices their opinion as part of their duty to their community. This program brings you just that, an unedited, honest discussion of issues. The producers take no responsibilities for the opinions and comments made on the show by their guests or the information they gather from public sources. The intent of this show is to thoroughly research current issues that affect our community, present the facts surrounding the issues, discuss the pros and cons, then present to our viewing audience what we together or individually feel is the best solution for both the community and the public. This show is the property of the producers and may not be rebroadcast without written permission from the producers. The producers take no responsibility for the opinions of others in the postings of comments in chat rooms, blogs, video logs, forum posts, or other media or social media. Ideas and suggestions for the show are welcome and encouraged. We can be reached at 46360show at excite.com. That's our email. We also have our YouTube channel up and running. If you type in YouTube Point Counterpoint 46360 show, just like you see it, there's a channel with all rebroadcasted shows if you'd like to view them. We understand we are showing now Monday 8 o'clock right after News and Views. Fantastic. Thank you, Cable Access, and thank you, Access Laporte. Welcome to Point Counterpoint, the 46360 show produced by Dwayne Perry and myself, Anthony Hendricks. We hope you enjoy the topics, the discussion, and the show. Let's get started. It's the 46360 show. What do you know? Here we go. What do you got, Dwayne?
Tony, today we have on our agenda 5 topics, as we always do. We'll devote about 10 minutes to each topic, and then we'll do a recap. Today's topics are St. Anthony's Hospital, the new hospital, why we think it's going to be built outside the city limits versus inside. Something we've talked about as far as the city moving forward, a new concept that we feel is accurate. We should call it Michigan City, your destination. Third, we'll talk about a different type of lakefront improvement that Tony and I looked at this past week. Fourth, we'll give you a Cheney Run floodplain update, which is very important. We've got the latest and some good stuff for you. And then last, we'll talk about the state of education in Michigan City. Tony, let's go ahead and get started.
St. Anthony Hospital. Everyone's familiar with the new St. Anthony Hospital. You can see it being built there at 42194. That is the northwest corner. It's coming along very well. They're moving really fast. It's really nice to see, but we wanted to discuss some issues we've seen in the paper where if you know the St. Anthony's access, it's the frontage road on 94, which used to be the Bob Evans, and it's kind of tough. And we understand there's some talk about extending Ohio south to St. Anthony's.
Right.
And St. Anthony's, there's discussion because, and you can help me on this one, St. Anthony's is in LaPorte County. Anything south of 400 is LaPorte County.
Right. Michigan city limits stop at 400 north, Highway 400 north. And it's going to be necessary for 2 access points to the new hospital. So the thought is to extend Ohio Street from 400 north south to the new service road that's going to parallel I-94 from Franklin Street in front of the old Bob Evans around to the hospital, and then there'll be another way from Ohio Street via that service road.
Yeah, I've seen construction plans of this new extension road, and I guess the point is, how does Michigan City, and if you watch News and Views just before us, and this week we are on there, thank you Dave Bila and Bob Pollock, the producers of that show. How do you extend Ohio south to St. Anthony's frontage road or access their campus from Michigan City city limits through the city of LaPorte? Now, I understand I saw some things in the paper that said, there's annexation discussion, which would allow us to spend Southside TIF district funds, which was also discussion we had on News and News, the big TIF district funds.
If the county is willing to work with Michigan City on annexing that area into Michigan City.
Well,
currently it's county property.
That would have to be St. Anthony's. St. Anthony's would have to ask to be annexed. I mean, the law in Indiana, a little bit of background. Fort Wayne, way east of here, was expanding immensely. And there was a loophole in the annexation of Indiana that allowed Fort Wayne, I can't remember the verbiage now, you can annex without asking people their permission, or with very little permission. You could, I can't think of the word, you could annex and just start annexing with very little remonstration from the public. And they closed that loophole in the state of Indiana. So now it's very tough for cities to go start annexing people because, and I'll let you go here, we know what annexation brings, and I'm sure St. Anthony's as a business entity is calculating what that brings to them. What does that bring in positives with the new road? They have sewer and water. What does that bring in fire protection? What does that bring in police protection? Or is it the city police, or is it the county sheriff that protects them? Is it Cool Spring Volunteer Fire Department, or is it Michigan City Fire Department? Or is there an agreement somewhere? I'm sure they're discussing that, because in annexation, if you get annexed, it was involuntary annexation. That's what it was. Indiana was one of the few states that had involuntary annexation. So they could come along and with very little, I believe, circuit court ruling, they could go to circuit court and say, we're voluntarily annexing all this property. You were now subject, and I'll hand this over to you, the city's tax rate and every other fee it's there.
Right. Because if you're going to talk annexation, you've got to talk about the benefits and the liabilities. The liabilities are how much you're going to pay for property tax, because property tax in cities, Michigan City, LaPorte, South Bend, is substantially higher than it is in the counties that are not, in a section of the counties that are not in those cities. And
now we had a little discussion. Now we don't know if St. Anthony's is non-for-profit, if that affects their property tax. I don't know.
Generally speaking, if you look at owning property in Michigan City versus owning it in the county, and a lot of this can be looked at from the enclosure that everyone received with their property tax bills. You received a second sheet that had a lot of information on it. What you've got here is, this is the entire pie of property tax. If you live in Michigan City, you pay this entire pie. You pay a township tax, you pay a county tax, you pay a special tax, which has to do with sanitary waste. You pay a school tax and a library tax. If you live in, you pay the city tax, which is 49% of this pie. If you live in just the county, Cool Spring, Springfield, New Durham, you don't live in the city limits, then this half of that pie, 49%, goes away. All you pay is this. Okay, why is this so much higher? Every city is higher than the county. LaPorte, the city of LaPorte, roughly runs the same as Michigan City does, about 49%. But we're talking about Michigan City right now. So if you live in Michigan City, 3 of the things that you pay for, whether you utilize them, you enjoy them, or you even want them there. You pay for maintenance of Michigan City Airport. You pay to maintain the Barker Civic Center. And you also pay to dredge and maintain the Trail Creek Harbor. So if you're not a boat owner, you're paying for the boat owners there. If you're not a pilot, you're paying for somebody else's plane to come in and out of Michigan City. And Barker Center was the home of the Barker Haskell Company manager.
Barker Mansion?
Barker Mansion. Yes, it was. Okay, last thing. How does Michigan City stack up to the counties? Like I said, Michigan City has 3 townships in it. We have Michigan Township, which is the bulk of Michigan City, part of Springfield Township, and part of Cool Spring Township. So if you live in the township, let's take Center Township, which is between Michigan City and LaPorte, you pay twice as much. The property tax rate that you pay, the rate that you pay, is twice as of what Michigan City's is. If you live in New Durham, which is close to Westville, you pay 79% more living in Michigan City than the people in New Durham. Cool Spring is twice as much. Galena Township, which is where a lot of people are sending their kids to school, Rolling Prairie, you're going to pay 60% more living in Michigan City than in Galena Township. Or businesses too. I shouldn't have said strictly living because it's businesses too. So if you ask yourself, as many people have, St. Anthony's Hospital's been in Michigan City forever, why aren't they staying in Michigan City? You're talking about a multi-million-dollar complex, which translate into a lot of revenue, but a lot of liabilities, taxes.
But that doesn't take into account, they calculate tax rates, and the state has mandated 1, 2, or 3, right? 1, 2, or 3 law. So
right.
No matter what, and I don't know how this works, so I've been trying to find out how this works. If, say, the school district and the city and there's other funds in there and the library, they all put in their amount they want each year, and then the state says, this is your tax rate, but we have to cap everyone at 1, 2, or 3. And maybe we'll bring that in a show later. How does the auditor of the county who controls tax bills through the treasurer, how do they say, okay, if everyone put their needs or wants into the pot and it came out to 5% tax rate, but sorry, the state only said 1, is it proportional? Does everyone get a proportional piece of the 1% pie? That's something we need to bring up in the next another show.
Yeah, we do, because actually if you look at the attachment to your tax bill, the second piece of paper that was in there, you look at the bottom of all of these partial tax rates, and they're much higher. They're higher than 3%. Indiana's, I think, or Michigan City's was 3.6208. And yet, I pay 1% on my home, as most people do, because we have a homestead exemption.
Well, the state mandated 1, 2, or 3.
Yes.
That's it.
So that's what we pay.
So we'll bring that up in a show. But the hospital, going back to the hospital, they have to decide, and I haven't heard anything lately, and I don't know if you have, what are they going to do? Are they annexing into Michigan City, or are they staying in the county? And like you said, it's liabilities versus assets. What's the best thing for St. Anthony's Hospital, where they're at, and how they run a business? And that's what every business does, right? And that's what homeowners do. I looked at tax rates when they came out in the paper. We see those every year. I believe, if I'm not wrong, somebody correct me if I am, Michigan Township, Michigan City was the highest rate. Now, you just put in there Galena Township, which is the New Prairie School District. They passed a referendum for some more funding for their schools, so they might be bumping up against some rates too. But I believe they were still low. Anything else on the hospital?
No, that's pretty much it. I just wanted to explain my findings to the people of Michigan City so that they understand why, more than likely, St. Anthony's decided to move out of the city limits.
Well, probably because, just like we talked in News Views, they cherry-picked the spot, right?
Yeah, let's not go there.
But also what we brought up in News and Views, which Dave Bila and Bob Pollock brought up with, we looked at some maps, and I have a map, but you won't be able to see it. The campus, the land that St. Anthony's bought, and we talked about cherry-picking, they didn't really cherry-pick. That's a tough piece of ground. It has a lot of wetlands, and those are wooded wetlands. Those are most protected wetlands in the nation. If you have wooded, wet ground, there's nothing more protected in the nation, in the United States, than wooded wetlands. And they have a whole bunch. And those are really good for environmental. But that also hinders them from getting straight to Ohio, and Dave alluded to it. There's got to be a little jog, because if you go to Beacon, LaPorte County GIS site, where everyone checks their taxes and looks at properties, and we all do too, you can see the sisters own a piece just west of Ohio that attaches to their campus, so they could potentially go through there, and they own that. So it's up to them, because building a road's not cheap. Maintaining a road's even more expensive. Yes. It never ends. You have to plow it, you have to police it, you have to maintain it, you have to pave it.
You have drainage ditches along the side of the road that you have to
and to build it, to build it on that kind of ground is going to take concerted effort. You just can't build on wet ground and hope it doesn't fail. You got to do it right. We do that every day. So that was another topic that we were discussing with St. Anthony's. We do need Ohio Street enhanced and an access to the campus of St. Anthony's. Personally, I thought it was kind of sad that they left Michigan City, and that's not what we're hearing. Though we're hearing that they didn't leave Michigan City. Well, they did. They went to LaPorte County. They are adjacent, but they left Michigan City. They went to LaPorte County. Now, we don't know if there's not-for-profit. I'm sure there was business decisions. You got 94 and 421. Talk about visibility. The businesses all want visibility.
They could also be following a trend, because the hospital, what I can't remember the name, in Valparaiso.
Oh, Porter.
Porter has now moved out of Valparaiso to a much bigger hospital, Porter County.
You're right.
Memorial.
They left.
Yeah.
They went all the way to
This may
Porter
be
County.
a trend that we're going to see in the hospitals throughout the nation, moving out of the municipalities to cover a much larger area.
That's a good segue. You know that? Our hospitals becoming destinations.
Yeah.
With baby boomers getting older, our hospitals gearing up to be destinations, or one size fits all, or provide all services on one campus.
That's a possibility. What I do inject where the term cherry picking came from was Dave Bila. We talked about how much wetland Michigan City has. We've got so many spots because of the history of this area of the country. The glacial lake, the lake being formed by glacial activity. And Dave said that we need to control these businesses and not let them pick where they want to be. The high spots where there's no water problems at all, and then we're stuck with the problem of the low spots, because every square inch of ground drains when it rains. The water's got to go somewhere.
Yep.
So if you pick a high spot and you cover that up with asphalt, with buildings where the water can't go down into the soil, it's going to run off and it's going to go into a lower area and have even more water. So it increases the problem.
Well, that's good business sense. To buy the best piece of ground with the least amount of cost to develop it.
Yes.
That's good business sense. And we have to protect ourselves, and we have to allow businesses. We're on a balancing act there. We don't want to tell them no. So next topic, I guess that's our 10 minutes, is Michigan City, your destination. So this came from, again, News and Views, pretty late in the show. I'm sure if you watched it before us. Bob Pollock, who's retired now, him and his wife, and they go to different areas, and their destinations. Oh, he talked about Branson, lots of places in America.
Branson, Missouri. He goes down there a couple times a year.
And Branson, Missouri, I remember back in the early 90s was really just a two-lane road and one-horse town.
It was a white spot in the road.
Just nothing there. And now it's insane.
It's booming.
He centered around the area that we started talking about was the police station and the news dispatch. There's been talk about a hotel down there.
Yes.
I don't let me put words in your mouth, but I was kind of on your side that, why in the world would we encourage a hotel right next to Blue Chip and compete with them? In my mind, that didn't make any sense until we started talking about destination and the right kind of hotel.
Right. And Bob threw it out, Bob Pollock did, that it's not competition. It creates what Bob called synergy, where one will feed off of another. He said, apparently Bob has studied this a little bit. He said you see it in Las Vegas, you see it in these other towns where the casinos don't hurt each other because there's so many little different things.
They provide different services.
That, they satisfy everyone's needs. And Bob felt strongly that the right hotel, a first-class hotel, something
like a Hilton.
Like a Hilton.
Like a big Hilton.
Like a
water park and
20-story Hilton or something like that would be
top-notch.
Yeah. And my input from that was I felt that the downtown area needs one or two anchors. Well, the definition of an anchor, everybody seems to have a different definition. Mine is, let's take a look at the two sites that we've talked about. 7th and Franklin, that I would like to see 30 condominiums in those two buildings instead of leveling those buildings with an open-air park. Well, let's say we did go the route of 30 condominiums. We have 50 apartments at the old Memorial Hospital site. What would be better downtown than a small chain, full-service grocery store where people can live in downtown, walk 2 blocks to the grocery store, something like a Trader Joe's. When I was on the council, I investigated how to obtain a Trader Joe's franchise, and I was unsuccessful. They're wholly owned. Now, this was some time ago. This was 2013 that I did this study, but they're wholly owned by Aldi's, which is a very
I
large,
didn't know that.
very large European conglomerate.
Wow.
Aldi's is like the Walmart of Europe, I
didn't know
understand.
that.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a company. Trader Joe's are company-owned franchise stores. This was in 2013. Maybe it's changed.
Or Whole Foods? Were you looking at Whole Foods too?
No, I look just because my wife and I, when we were in Seattle taking care of my dad in the early 2000s, there was a Trader Joe's out there that we went to frequently. Very nice. It had organic foods, regular foods, and it was competitively priced with the chains.
Yeah, I'm kind of changing my opinion because I liked his destination.
I do too.
I like to make Michigan City a destination. If you've ever been to Blue Chip, and sometimes my brothers and sisters come here, or friends come and relatives stay there, they have a pool, and it's not really a big pool, but they have a pool and a little sauna area and a hot tub area. But if you stay on the new side, you have to walk through the reception area of the casino to go to the pool. And it's not conducive really for families, and neither really is a casino for families.
No.
I remember back in the late 80s and early 90s, Las Vegas tried to change this whole thing to be family oriented. It's not really
It's very
to
difficult.
that. And I agree with Bob. Maybe a destination with a high-end hotel, either at somewhere around the old memorial site or at the News Dispatch or the city police station site. As long as it was done right, that was family oriented and geared towards that, it would feed off of Blue Chip and be another piece of the puzzle, because we have the mall and we have Blue Chip and downtown and we have the beach.
Right. And don't think for 1 minute that I'm changing my tune. I've said from day one, Michigan City needs to reestablish a light industrial community. We need some manufacturing.
But we know that'll never come downtown.
No,
We would never want
we're
that.
talking about different areas of the city. We can have an industrial community because not everyone can work in the service community. It's
Oh,
not,
yeah.
in the service industry. It's not meant for everyone. And
It's not
those
meant
people,
usually for a lifetime career. Usually kind of a
yes.
starter. So if we had a hotel, as long as it's the right hotel, we're not talking about, Holiday Inn Express or
No, not some 2 or 3, 4-story hotel. We're talking about a world-class hotel, which is like a Hyatt, a Sheraton.
or like a Kalahari up in Wisconsin Dells. I mean, it's a hotel and a movie theater and a water park, and boy, they are busy all year long.
Yeah. When you stay there, you don't have to leave the complex to find something to do.
Family oriented. The beach is great, but not all the time of the year. I mean, the beach has a very limited amount of days we can use it.
Tell our viewers what we decided to do, Tony, based on that. We're going to dedicate a portion of every program.
No, that's what I was going to. Thank you.
Yeah.
I was going to go there. Yeah, we're thinking the show, we can talk about issues and discuss them, good or bad or whatever they are, but we want this show to be something that's a positive influence and a forward direction. So we would like, and we thought this was a great segue into taking 20 minutes of the show, or maybe 30 minutes of the show, just to focus on one area in the town. Like in News and Views, we talked about the Highway 12 corridor. We talked about the Southside TIF district. In the past, we talked about the Midtown. We talked about the uptown or downtown. We talked about different areas in town. So I think we're going to, and we saw that the city's going to do a master plan. I think our opinion is the same, that you need to ask people in town what they want. What do they think about it? We hire out of town, or they don't know.
You need input from the public, and that's what we're going to try to do, is inform the public.
So
On News and Views, we had a map of the South TIF district. Very few people in Michigan City know what the South TIF district is. Some don't even know what a TIF district is. Tax incremental financing. It's from tax. It was created years ago by the state because of surpluses. And they thought, well, should we give the taxpayers a rebate or should we do something else? And they decided that they would put the money, they create these TIF districts to help communities like Michigan City, South Bend, Gary, Michigan City, cities that were once very busy, had a lot of industry, developing quickly. In 1966, Michigan City had 40,000 people. Projections were by 1990, we were going to be at 80,000. That was in a study that we hired a firm, the Gardner Group, out of Chicago to do. They had some very good thoughts that I'll share with you. I looked at that study, and that's what we've talked about. Let's pull some of these old studies out, stop buying new ones. A lot of times the old studies, well, when I said about the alternate routes, north and south and east-west, east and west, that was in a 66 Gardner study. Now we're seeing its reality. Franklin Street is too busy. We need other routes to get people around.
Franklin Streets are very busy, and the way this economy is moving, it's going to get busier.
And what we're going to do is we're going to focus in on a section of town, share what we know with the public so the public's informed, and then we want your input. We want your input, and we'll share it with the administration. We'll share it with the leaders of the community so that we all need to be on the same page. If we care about Michigan City, we all need to be on the same page.
And I think everyone, there's a lot of information and a lot of knowledge, sadly, that doesn't show up on public comments or meetings, or, I don't know, they're shortchanged because you just don't have time, or people don't want to get up and speak, and they don't want to say something because there's a whole group of people there. But when you, and everyone knows this, when you go around town, everyone, the older people in this generation know just about every study and everything around town and what we need to do and what they think would improve Michigan City. It's pretty simple. I don't think it hardly ever sees the light of a plan or a master plan, but I think if we devote some of this time of the show to just pick an area and tell you what we know about it, where it has been said it's going to go, and where we think it could improve and go from here. So that's something to look forward to. We think we're going to do it every show, and there's lots of sections in town we can pick and see what we know about them and what we can glean from a lot of past knowledge and people we know.
Exactly.
Where we want to go.
We hope you'll join us on this, and by putting our program on YouTube, as Tony's arranged, we can be the source of information. Michigan City is a unique town. We have 2 radio stations, 1 newspaper, a television station, and unfortunately, not everyone reads the news. We have 2 newspapers, the Beecher,
Yes.
which is a wonderful newspaper.
Yes.
Not everyone reads the News-Dispatch, not everyone reads the Beecher, not everyone listens to the WIMS or WEFM, and you can't get ALCO unless you're a Comcast customer. Hopefully that'll change. Hopefully ALCO would become available through Direct and Dish. That would be wonderful. Then you can get to the whole city. But right now there's not one source of information that all of the people in Michigan City utilize.
Yeah, there never is. There's just, we try. Hit it from every side.
Yep.
So there you go. There's 10 minutes on Michigan City. We liked it. Michigan City, your destination. I'm not really a fan of what outsiders tell us to say. We should make it everyone's destination. Michigan City is beautiful. Michigan City has so much to offer. It's just unbelievable. But we'll move on. What's our third topic here?
Oh boy, this is the one you challenged me on last week.
Different lakefront, yes.
Yeah.
We're going to research.
We talked Boardwalk, and
Boardwalk.
Tony said, give me a plan, price. Okay, I looked at it.
We're not messing around. Boots on the ground, shovels in the dirt.
Yep, yeah, we've done that before. We got to be careful. Anyway, back to that. We've got our new pavilion on the lakefront. That's one type of an investment. I personally would like to see a boardwalk. I'd like to see a boardwalk extended all the way east and west through Fetter's Alley. So Tony said, show me. So I looked at it, and I came up with a price tag of just around $700,000 for a 1,450-foot boardwalk.
How wide?
10 foot wide. It would run from the senior center to the eastern edge of Fetter's Alley, and then the senior center is finished in front. Then you would have a boardwalk on the west side of the senior center running 150 feet out toward the beach, through the beach grass, and it'd be right there, ending at the open area of the beach. Now, sounds like a lot of money, but
Well, not a lot of people go down there.
a lot of people would go down there. Let's take a look at how we spend our money. Michigan City spent $800,000 on Phase 2 of Michigan Boulevard. I was not an advocate of that. I drove Michigan Boulevard. I felt that it needed tender, loving care. It didn't need replacement. So $800,000 for Phase 2 of Michigan Boulevard, or $700,000 for a beautiful boardwalk on the beach. You make the choice what's more important to you. I'll pick the boardwalk.
Yeah, we were trying to look at the boardwalk because all of us know when we've been out to Michigan, Lake Michigan or Washington Park Beach, the sand is hot as the blazes. You got to drag everything, and the kids, what do you say, 400, 500, 600 feet sometimes to get to your towel spot?
To get from the parking lot to the water's edge.
Well, 1,000 feet if you go from Washington Park parking lot all the way to Fetter's Alley across the sand.
Oh yeah, that's a long walk.
Almost a quarter mile.
Yep.
In the sand with all your stuff. So that's why I was asking 10 feet. I think 20 feet. I think 20 feet. I think at least 1,000 feet of boardwalk, not on the beach, but let's say 200 feet back.
Well, I also included in this is, if any of you remember, the Guardian Riders a couple years ago donated a removable boardwalk. It rolled out like a carpet. It was very nice. My plan is a permanent boardwalk running east and west through Fetter's Alley. The other 150-foot boardwalk is permanent also. And then you have 3 paths that have been cut by foot traffic from the parking lot of Fetter's Alley to the beach area. And each one of those 3 would have a rolled out path that would be taken up every fall, put down every spring, so you would not have to walk through the hot sand.
And I was thinking the same thing. Maybe get some cart vendors, ice cream, pop, pizza, hot dogs, cotton candy, peanuts, to roll along a 20-foot boardwalk.
Yep,
and
so that a family will spend the entire day down at the beach.
You want to keep them there
rather
longer.
than just a couple hours.
You keep them down there longer. And then to bring into that, we also talked about running some 15-minute bus service so they can park downtown for free. And maybe they'll go back downtown, or maybe they'll go there for lunch and come back to the beach. I mean, and every person that's come up here said the same thing. You want to capture them and keep them here the whole day.
Yep.
You don't want 2 hours in and 2 hours out. You want 6 to 8 hours of that family in town somewhere.
A lot of aspects to this, but it can be done, and it would definitely, in my opinion, be a large improvement to our lakefront. Draw a lot more people.
We're going to have to be careful because we get a lot more people in here. It's going to get too busy, but I mean, that's a good problem.
Yeah, that's a good problem.
And a lot of people complain about traffic, but in our world, traffic is always a good problem. A bad problem is no traffic. If you got no traffic, you got worse problems than traffic. And I know we don't like it, and I don't like South Franklin, and it's busy getting through the light at 20 in Franklin, but traffic is a good problem.
Well, we might have to start going through the old plans and see what they recommend.
And I've been to the New Jersey coast, Atlantic City. They got big boardwalks. If you've ever been to the New Jersey coast, you're not allowed to get on the beach. All through the New Jersey coast, there's a boardwalk, and you got to pay at the boardwalk to go put your towel on the beach. Every community makes these people, and I went with friends, and we got there, and we got to the little checkpoint where you go down the beach, and said, wait a minute, show us your tags. And they had the tags, and I'm like, wow, you got to pay to get on the beach? Like, yep, you have to have your little tag on your towel or on your chair, or you can't sit on the beach. I don't want that to happen, but that's how important a beach is to a community, and we are so blessed here. So blessed with that sand sitting out there. I guess we're so blessed it's tough because we got 1,000 feet of sand.
Yep.
1,000 feet of sand, and that's almost a quarter mile to walk. That's a long way to walk in sand. What is that? 1 step forward, 2 steps back.
Oh no.
Sand's tough, but if we had a boardwalk, we're talking, I think 20 feet wide. If it cost $1 million, I think it'd be worth every penny and then some. Because now you can access it, handicap accessible. You could bring your coolers and your towels and your chairs and beach toys. easy to get down there. Right now, it's darn near impossible with a bunch of the family and a bunch of stuff. But we all did it.
Yeah, we
all
did.
did it.
We survived.
All right, so the other thing you were charged with, Cheney Run floodplain update. You got a lot of information.
You bet, you bet. And I hope that anyone that catches our program, pass this on, because the people that are affected by this floodplain, that have been affected, definitely need to know what's going on. Very important. So if you catch our show Monday night, please pass it on. I'm going to be calling each and every resident of the 5th Ward that called me. I kept records. I'm going to call them and tell them where we're at so that they have the information in case they don't catch a show. But where we're at right now is I requested a complete set of submittals from the DNR of the process of the letter of map revision request that was made.
The Department of Natural Resources.
The Department of Natural Resources of Indiana, they sent it to me. Tony and I went through it. We brainstormed, and what we came up with was at the constriction points, and this is what we've said all along, the first one being the CSX tracks.
Way up here somewhere.
There's one CSX tract, there's one under a road, there's a South Shore tracks going east and south and east to Kingsbury Industrial Park. But at these points, we agreed, and I proposed it to the DNR in a telephone conversation. If Michigan City were to open that drainage system on each side of the constriction and then create a larger passage through this constriction, in other words, at CSX there's a 7-foot pipe.
Yeah, the study showed there's a 7-foot.
The study showed there's a 7-foot pipe. You've got to enlarge that. Either put a larger pipe, put multiple pipes, or open that up.
Bridge it.
Bridge it, have the open area that collects the water on each side, because some of the Cheney Run needs to stay enclosed because it's in developed areas, which we feel is why it was enclosed in the first place, to encourage development in these areas of Michigan City. So some of it can't be opened up, but at these constricting points, we can open it up on each side of the constriction, enlarge the passage underneath, and where we open it up, we're going to have to make it probably deeper, a little bit bigger. And after Tony and I looked at that, I got back with the DNR and I asked these specific questions. And they said, yes, if you were to do that, then that would dramatically decrease the size of this floodplain.
Now, how many, I don't know, we have a level.
There were 3 or 4 constricting areas.
This is a bad representation, and I guess don't call us, who was the guy who ran for president? Ross Perot. Don't call us Ross Perot. But this is Gardena Park and CSX. Right here is that 7-foot pipe. And this is ton and blank here, this area. So we asked them, we started thinking, and we started the show, we're trying to make this show be a positive forward movement. So we want to know how we can help or encourage the city to help its residents in this area and what it's going to cost. So we're looking at, we haven't done any costs yet, right?
No.
But we're just throwing this up here, and we haven't done any studies and no engineering, no surveying. This is just what we started looking at with the information we got. If we increase the restriction 10 foot, and I just didn't think it until you said it, if we bridged the CSX, that'd be far larger than a 10-foot pipe.
It would open it. I can't estimate how much it would reduce the size of the floodplain south of Greenwood Ave.
It would reduce the constriction immensely.
Yes.
Now, I don't remember, was it 18 inches or 2 and 2? Difference between here and here on the floodplain was sizable.
Yeah. It was at least a foot difference in elevation. That's what made me wonder about this to begin with. I mean, as Dave Beal has said many times, water flows downhill. Well, if you've got an elevation upstream of the CSX tracks, upstream being to the south, because the water flows from south to north toward Trail Creek. If you've got a higher elevation here, south of the tracks, than you do north of the tracks, it's because the water is restricted. If it was able to flow unimpeded, both elevations would be the same. So that was when I took a look at the map and I thought, there's gotta be points where it's choked down, and that's what's causing the difference in these elevations.
That's the calculations. And
Now, if you can open that up, that high elevation drops down. And all those people that have a finished floor in their house, that's the key. That's the key. There's been an email that's gone out from Haas Engineering to local surveyors talking about establishing a unit rate for determining finished floor elevations in these homes, so that these people know exactly where they're at. Because there are some people that part of their property is in the floodplain, the elevation's been checked there, but the elevation of the finished floor of the house is an unknown. So it may not be in the floodplain.
So our hope here is that Michigan City is thinking about, or already has contracted with, hopefully, Haas Engineering to look at what can we do now. We've taken the first step to reduce the floodplain. We know there's a restriction at the CSX. We know the biggest pipe we have downstream, and some people who are smarter than what we hope are going to say, well, you can't put a 10-foot pipe and flow it into an 8-foot pipe. That doesn't work. You're creating another restriction, but there's things we're thinking about. Can you open up some of the ground at Ton and Blank if you're, what is that? I can never remember the street. Greenwood and
Woodland.
And Woodland, if you open that up to be an open, kind of a pond, environmentally friendly area, can we open up a 10-foot pipe underneath CSX to reduce or maybe eliminate anything south of CSX in the Gardena Park neighborhood and let it store and flow into Ton and Blank? Can we slip line, and we're going to explain this here, can we slip line anything else that goes from Greenwood all the way through to the school administration building?
Right. Slip lining is a low friction liner. PVC comes in different strengths. You can put one in there because remember, this line is old now. So it would reinforce this line from collapsing. We had a sewer line collapse at Greenwood and Woodland. Remember?
Yeah, we had to redo all that.
All that intersection was redone because of collapsing lines. So this is, and the city, there are funds for that. Boyd Development, Riverboat Fund are for infrastructure. They are for that. And this is infrastructure.
And Bob thought that was like the 60s. So now you're talking a pipe that's over 50 years old. At some point, we're going to have to maintain it anyways. Slip lining is a way of which they can take a concrete pipe or a clay vitrified clay pipe, which is we use a lot, and they're very strong, but sometimes they don't last that long. They degrade over years, or they get breaks in them and tree roots grow in them and they start failing. Slip line is you put a plastic, almost like a balloon in there. You pull it through, you expand it up, and then you heat seal it so it just kind of seals the inside of the pipe then. And what that does, that's why we're saying, how can you do a 10-foot pipe into an 8-foot pipe? The friction in a pipe is always calculates and affects the flow. So it's far different if you go from a concrete or clay vitrified pipe with seams every 10 feet to a nice smooth plastic pipe the whole way. Your calculations and
water flows faster.
And DNR will give you a reduction or an increase in the amount of flow that those pipes can handle, and that also might help reduce the flood zone. But that's what we're hoping here. We're hoping the city is paying attention. I hope they have. I really think they have, to say, okay, here's the next step. We're going to have a public demonstration period for the new map. They've approved the map. It's decreased a lot. Well, it's decreased intense, right? A whole bunch. But can we take the next step? It's going to cost some money. It's going to take some engineering. And can we reduce it even further or eliminate everything south of the CSX, and maybe even helping people at Greenwood, because Greenwood still has a sizable flood area too.
Oh yeah, there are streets, Dixon, Dewey, Hendricks, there are streets north of Greenwood. There are neighborhoods that are affected by this. So, some of these areas we cannot have an open collection point in. But the area that we gave an example, it goes, the Cheney Run goes through the NIPSCO area.
Ton and Blank.
Or the Ton and Blank, which used to be the old by NIPSCO, north across Greenwood through St. Stan's Cemetery, a part of it, through Greenwood Cemetery. Those are areas that are fully developed. A collection pond could possibly be put there. So there are
a school administration building owns a very large portion.
right? That's a lot of open area there. This is definitely a possibility for a fix on this.
We think it's worth the city to spend some money.
My hope is that the people that are affected will come together, go to the remonstration period, the event, and demand help. Demand that the city come forward with infrastructure funds and help to eliminate their problem. I think the city can do more.
Because say you had somebody's paying $200 a month for flood insurance because they're in the flood zone, and suppose there was 10 people paying that every month. That's $2,400. That's $24,000 a year that these 10 people are paying. Because we did these same in past shows and other things. We've discussed this too. We've discussed the Streeble Pond. The money we spent, was it worth for the savings in the flood zone payments every year? So $24,000, say $25,000 minimum, and 10 years is $250,000 that the private people are gonna pay. So could we spend $200,000 or $300,000 fixing it? That's something we need to. The city needs to discuss, and I
City
hope
needs to look at that.
we could. I think we could easily. I think we could pay $500,000 if it's going to help a bunch of people. Not just because of the money they're paying, because technically, if a flood happens, they're going to have a bunch of damage, and we don't want that to happen to anyone ever.
Correct.
So just because of the flood insurance is one thing. Actually, having a flood is even worse.
There can be a positive ripple effect. These people, now they don't have to pay the floodplain insurance. They can put the money into their property.
And here we
Improve
go.
their property values go up. Everything's wonderful in Michigan City.
We always segue, don't we? Right into the next topic. Education in Michigan City. I want to keep bringing this up. Boy, Bob has got me convinced. There's nothing. I've done study after study. The Brookings Institute, you can look on the internet. Everyone has studied this like no tomorrow. So we started looking at education in Michigan City. We want to bring it back up. We're doing better. We could be far better. And I think we should spend our riverboat money on education. I think there's no better investment than education. I did some quick numbers, and Dwayne helped me here, because the city receives, you're saying, about $35 million a year from property tax. Every study I've read, 25, 50, 75% increase in property values on systems in areas with great educational opportunities. I'm a surveyor in the private world. Even though I'm the county surveyor, I also have a private business. I see surveyor's location reports, which is something everyone gets. They're not expensive. We go look at and make sure there's a house there that matches the addresses, because if someone's going to loan you $100,000, they want to know there's actually a building there, and it's not. It's on the property we're selling it to them. So I see those. I can tell you in South Central, in New Prairie, in Westville, Chesterton, we're looking at, I just saw one in New Prairie that had about a 60% increase since 2006. And if anyone remembers, 2006 was the height of the market. That's when homes were selling like no tomorrow and prices were high. I saw a 60% increase from that date to 2017 in the New Prairie School District. You see it as deputy in the county surveyor's office. People come in there. They want to move into these school districts. They will move into any 2-bedroom shack they can get a hold of, long as they can get their kids in the educational system that they want their kids to be in.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of requests for information on properties in that township, in that area.
So if you look at it, let's say Michigan City's $35 million in tax revenue. Well, how much do we get from the boat every year? About?
We get about a quarter of it. We get about $11 million.
Say $11 million. So we're looking at $11 million.
A quarter of our budget.
So we're looking at about $11 million every year we get from Blue Chip that we utilize, and we need to have nice streets and plowed streets and garbage pickup, and we see that as something and that we get as services that other towns like LaPorte and Westville and Trail Creek and Potawatomi, they have to struggle to do that. And Long Beach, Long Beach's got pretty good revenue though. So if you just try to find the balance, again, here's the balance. If you can increase the $35 million by 25%, that means making the educational system better, you will reap about $8 million more a year. That's only $3 million less than we get from Blue Chip. if you could increase it 50%, which I don't think is beyond reason, I think our students are capable. I think our town is capable. I think we need to pay the teachers more and make sure they can afford to live on 60 or 70,000 instead of scrounging at 30 or 40, whatever they get paid. And then they could focus on our kids and focus on education a little more. But if you increase it 50%, now you're pulling in $17.5 million in property tax revenue increase. Because remember, it's the 1, 2, 3. We cannot take more than 1, 2, 3, so we can't just increase the rate. We have to increase the actual property value. So 1% is the cap. The only way, and I think this is a great thing the legislature did, force you to increase your property values to increase your property revenue at the 1, 2, 3. I don't know if 1, 2, 3 is right. Some of us will struggle at it, but we have to increase the base to get a higher amount at 1%. So at 1%, at 50% increase in value, because we've done everything we can. We got a great school district. The teachers are really getting everything they need. They can teach these kids. The kids are there and they're ready to learn. If we can increase it 50%, that's more than we get from the casino, and that is a guarantee forever. The casino we're in right now, right? South Bend?
Yep. Oh, yeah. Under construction, the new one.
We have no idea what that's going to do to us. We don't have no idea what the state's going to do to us with those funds.
I'm going to begrudgingly make a concession in the effort for harmony. I've said all along, jobs. Jobs come first. Jobs will bring an increase in education. The chicken or the egg, whatever comes first. Okay, education comes first. I'll concede. But not by much.
Not by much. I'll give you that.
I'll put it like this.
I'll
If
give you
this
that.
is a foot race, your education and I have jobs, I'm right on your heels.
I'd agree.
I'm not in your dust.
You're one step behind.
Yeah, it's-
one step.
Yeah,
Barely
they go
half a
together.
step.
They go together.
Yeah, education will bring more jobs, which will bring more employers, which will bring more jobs, and thus feed on itself.
You can't have total prosperity without both.
Exactly.
You gotta have both.
But that's what we wanted to bring to you, just a simple math. If Michigan City has a $35 million a year from property tax, if we increased our property values by 25%, we could get $8 million. If we do it by 50%, we get 17.5. So somewhere in between is the exact same revenue we get from the boat.
There, are you happy?
Yes, I'm very happy. Very happy.
Okay.
Now, I'm kind of new on the bandwagon. I can't, and we promised it. It's been promised.
Oh, yeah.
Lottery, scratch-offs, casino, it was all education.
All of
Hasn't happened.
Nope, it has not happened.
Hasn't happened. So, we're getting towards the end here. I do want to bring up something very, very important. It was in the paper. And I hope everyone read it, and we'll bring it out in this show. There's a Franklin Street Bridge public comment meeting on May 25th at 5:30 in the council chambers. The county owns Franklin Street Bridge.
Yep.
And they're going to have a public comment session on May 25th, 5:30 in the council chambers. They are going to discuss multiple options of what to do about Franklin Street Bridge. We have to know what's going to happen. Is it going to be a drawbridge like it is today, a bascule bridge, or is it going to be a fixed bridge like we have over going to Blue Chip? Is it going to be, I presume they're going to lay out all the options and the costs. And Michigan City needs to be there in force to hear what's going to happen. And if they ask questions, please bring your input, email your input, tell them what you want. Do you like the bridge as we have it?
Yep.
I like it. I think it's great. I know it's kind of
It's
a
a
pain
landmark in the
sometimes.
community.
It's historical.
It gives the community personality. It's very important. The bridge is in Michigan City, but it's controlled by the county. So the county needs to know what Michigan Cityans want. Very important.
Yes, they control the bridge. They're asking for our input on May 25th, 5:30 p.m. at the council chambers. It was in the paper. I don't know if I'll make it, but these are county people. I see them every day. They know my opinion. They know exactly where I stand on the Franklin Street Bridge. I think I like it like it is. I know it's expensive. It's got character that nothing else can have. I don't want to see a bridge that goes to Blue Chip like we have over there. That'd be just as tall as the Armory. I don't want to see that. You would wipe out access to Mady's, to Galveston. You would have to move the monument, which is a historical landmark. The monument's a historical landmark. You'd have to get into Washington Park. Washington Park is also an historical district.
Yeah.
I think you're opening up.
It would entirely change the complexion of that area.
Now, boats would get through without opening and closing. Those boats would come right through. Just, you know, that height over there by the blue chip is designed for sailboats. That's why it's so tall. They want to know, the county commissioners want to know what Michigan City thinks about that area. So I was hoping to bring it in News and Views. I'm glad to remember to bring it into this show. It's very important to email your suggestion or look into it and watch it and see what's going to happen. It's an expensive bridge. It's the only major bridge we have in the county, and the county will decide, I hope, with our input, what to do with that bridge.
It's a picturesque bridge.
Oh,
It's a beautiful bridge.
It's unbelievable. Anything else you got? Future topics.
Well, what did we talk about?
We talked about designating an area in the city to talk about our upcoming shows.
Well, eventually I'm going to go back to the liquor licenses, the waterfront liquor licenses, because I've learned more about that. I've talked to a couple of the merchants that are affected by it, local bar owners, and I've got information that I want to share with the public.
And you got...
Well, I'd like to talk about our in the last election, it was a very large topic. Hire Michigan City. Why don't we hire more Michigan City people and less out-of-town people? Well, since the election, a new events coordinator has been hired. A young lady who, for some reason, works in Michigan City, but is not attracted to Michigan City enough to live here. She lives in Valparaiso. These kind of things are wrong, in my opinion. I'm going to talk about it a little bit, and hopefully there'll be some feedback from our viewers, how you feel about it.
Well, that changed, right? The hiring ordinance had a little change 4 or 5 years ago, didn't it? So we'll bring that in.
Yeah, we'll talk about the hiring ordinance too.
And in News and Views, Dave talked about, he talked about something that you probably all got in the mail, the Best of Michigan City. And I got one of those today too, and my wife gave it to me, and I think it was really nice. It was what, about, you get one, it was about 10, 12 pages, a little flyer.
Yeah.
But it didn't say who did it.
Didn't say who did it. It was about the size of a letter envelope, and it pushed the bars, the casinos, the wineries.
Well, it pushed some specific individuals. I don't mind about Barker Mansion or Blue Chip, but it cherry-picked some businesses.
Yes.
And they got an advertisement to every Michigan City person. Now, I guess I'm confused. Why did we get it? We know it's the best in Michigan City. We live here. And who put it out? I don't know. So we're getting really in. We only got a few seconds left. You got anything else left?
No, that'll do it. I think it's been a good show.
All right. So we'd like to thank everyone for their input. We like the email. Glad everyone watches. Thanks, Alco and Comcast Cable. Our show is, I believe, now at 8 o'clock on Monday. And thank you very much.
Until we meet again.